Oh, you're a great looking bathroom. We just need one more thing to tie the room together. Perfect. Hang on, in Animal Crossing, there's a urinal. Game theory. My villager has a wang. I think I've been playing too many games. Can I go outside yet? Oh yeah. The world is still bricks. Well, if I have to be stuck indoors for another 3 years, I might as well catch up on my online video viewing.
But what to look at? I mean, have you ever stepped back for a second and realised how gargantuan the internet is, without even considering the size of the deep web? With such a canyon of content available to watch all over the internet, where does one start when they're looking for something new? Me? I look around on Twitter for those accounts dedicated to posting nothing but out-of-context clips. If I see some clips from things I've never seen before and they pique my interest, then that's the next thing I want to watch. I mean, yeah, most of these accounts are for kids shows that I really couldn't care less about, or old TV shows which are really difficult to start binge watching because they're hard to find online, like Scooby-Doo out of context, Sonic Boom out of context, or Hannah Montana. But every so often you'll find a pot of gold. And no, I'm not talking about out-of-context Saudi football or out-of-context Mamma Mia. Oh, I'm talking about out-of-context accounts of YouTube shows.
I'm getting you for this. Ah!
I am always in the market for binging on a new YouTuber, especially with that going on, and it's actually the out-of-context Chadtronic Twitter account that got me watching him in the first place. Sometimes all you need are a few brilliant out-of-context clips, and that says all you need to know about a new channel that you may or may not like. It cuts out all of the time and energy that you need to invest in searching through thousands of channels and thousands of videos that they'll have on their channels in order to find something that you want to see. Out-of-context clips, for me, are a brilliant advertising tool for new channels.
This smoothly leads me onto one particular Twitter account that really stood out to me during one of those days that I was looking for the next piece of internet media that I wanted to binge. And all it took was one single image to get me hooked. After seeing this, I desperately had to find the show that this review score grid came from. Can you blame me? It spoke to me. It was hungry for my eyes.
Oh! And after a little bit of research, I managed to find the origin of this image. It was from a YouTube channel known as Navigator. And on that channel, they hosted a show known as Gaming in the Clinton Years. Yes. This is real.
And that's not only the greatest name for a show I think I've ever seen, but on the Navigator channel, they decided to make it an acronym. So the start of every review video is titled GITSY, which sounds like a Russian fizzy drink.
GITSY. It's good for your spleen.
And you know you're in for something special when the names of these reviews are gems like Mask, the game, and my personal favourite, Ocarina of Time. I was incredibly lucky to even find this channel in the first place, because you see, even though I found these out-of-context YouTube channel clips of the show, this was never supposed to be a YouTube channel at all, and the show wasn't even originally called Gaming in the Clinton Years. It was originally an independent, low-budget public access TV show known as Flights of Fantasy, a video game discussion, interview, and review show created by this lovely crumpet known as George Wood in the land of Mary. He also had a few other people that sometimes did reviews, but those ones...
The basic strategy for dogfighting is an attack from behind.
...aren't very good. The reviews that George himself presented all throughout the 90s have become slightly infamous for being some of the worst of all time. Not necessarily for the opinions he had.
Super Mario World 2 is far better than the less than pleasing Super Mario World.
Sometimes, but for the schizophrenic writing that changes the subject every 5 seconds, tons of completely false statements, strange line delivery.
A ride on a tiger sounds like a lot of fun. Well, it is.
The constant contradictions.
That is one annoying flaw. So much for realism. Realism is getting boring in video games.
The fact that he could rarely finish any single game he reviewed because of how bad he was at playing them, so just used cheat codes to skip to the ending.
The following password will get you into the next level in Deathheim.
Jokes that fall so flat they make you shrivel up.
Music that has a totally cool beat.
And extremely questionable comments that make absolutely no sense to anybody.
In Tomb Raider 3, create a storyline in which Lara gets breast cancer.
What have I become?
We guarantee the gaming world would be shocked, stunned, and moved at the effort to make Lara's character more meaningful.
You know that Lara Croft? The millionaire explorer with handguns and a mysterious family history? I know how to make her character more meaningful. Give her a tumour!
The Navigator YouTube channel stands for the National Academy of Video Game Trade Reviewers, which is really bloody stretching it for an acronym. And all they did was archive all of the individual game reviews that were a part of the original TV show and re-upload them under the new title of, Gaming in the Clip. If it weren't for this channel, then all of the reviews George Wood aired while wearing his PJs would be completely lost media. And I'm glad that they aren't lost, because these reviews
Mario Kart 64 is fun to play, except when you're losing.
are a sight to behold.
Very interesting.
All you need to know about how great these reviews are is that they were originally from a show called Flights of Fantasy, and then got renamed to Gaming in the Clinton Years. Why that name? Why that logo? What has Billy Big Boy Clinton got to do with anything video game related? Did he endorse this show personally? Was this some kind of weird propaganda? Why is his face used as the logo for a video game show?
What the hell could be next? Washing in the Lincoln Years?
And what about that pricky little theme song? I don't know if it's an original or if it's from a game or something, but god damn it, it matches the absurdity of the title card perfectly. Just think for a second. You're making a game review show. You name it Gaming in the Clinton Years. You plaster William's smirk staring right at you, and then include the most simplistic yet ominous 8-bit tune of all time that gives the impression of Clinton stalking you. And the title of this video today isn't lying to you. When I said I was looking for my next binge watch, I meant it. Which is why I plonked my ass down, got comfortable, and forgot I needed to wash that super glue off my pants as I watched 287 of these reviews.
Yuck, yuck, yuck.
287 of possibly the worst game reviews of all time. And as far as I could tell, this is every review available from Clinton's lapdog that you can find on YouTube today. By the way, 3 of these weren't presented by George, but you still got to see the plaque on Billy's teeth.
These allegations.
And you'd think that's all I would have to say about the history of this show. But then you go to the Navigator YouTube channel and notice that there aren't 287 videos on there. There's 1,322. So how many Clintons are hiding in there?
Well, if you know anything about me, I may not be stubborn, but I am extremely stubborn. So I went into the upload history of this channel and scrolled through all of the 1,322 videos to figure out what the rest of the videos were. And what I discovered is just as interesting as the reviews themselves.
Enter the Gecko is Gex's second Gex game. That will get you Gex-cited.
Okay, maybe the reviews are better. Out of the 1,322 videos, we already know that 287 are reviews, so that's easy enough, and then I counted a total of 767 videos dedicated to random B-roll, hints and tips, and occasional interview clips that have nothing to do with the reviews. You know, random cutscenes, endings, walkthroughs, intro cinematics, behind the scenes, promotion reels, stuff like that. And considering that most of these videos are less than 20 seconds long, most of these are really not worth talking about.
Illusion of Gaia. One of the best stories ever for a video game. Someone please turn this into a movie. Be forewarned, the pig sacrifice is a shocking, dramatic twist.
No joke, that's the whole video.
The more lines you make, the more points and surprises will come your way.
Wait, you get surprised when you play Tetris. What's there to be surprised about? Oh my god, it's a block! I've never seen one of them before! I mean, there's even one video here titled Metal Gear Solid Psycho Mantis, and with it being a walkthrough video, you'd think that it would give you hints and tips to finding and beating Psycho Mantis, right? No! What are you? The floppy old sack? In fact, what you actually get is 3 minutes of George telling you what happens in the story, and then you get 10 seconds at the end of the video explaining Psycho Mantis.
Just put your controller in the second controller port on the PlayStation. If you do this, he'll go down easily.
That's it, that's all he says, in a video titled Metal Gear Solid Psycho Mantis. And the gameplay on display here is quite frankly embarrassing. He wasn't even trying.
With the DualShock controller, you will actually feel his heart attack as the controller vibrates.
Oh! Yeah, help me! Call an ambulance! What's wrong? What's wrong? Oh, false alarm. It was just my controller shaking. Oh, good. I thought you were having a heart attack. So did I. It's exactly the same thing.
Oh look, it's a load of kids. Let's ask them some questions. Tell me, youth, what was your favourite part of Donkey Kong Country?
Pretty cool and how they also made the Donkey Kong.
Your mother should have swallowed you.
It's a great game where they have all the great graphics.
You know when people said that video games rot your brain? I think they were right.
But you didn't see this coming, did you? I've actually been secretly timing you all for the last few minutes, which is more than enough time for you to realise that 1,322 videos, minus 767 unrelated videos, minus 287 reviews, leaves us with 268 videos unaccounted for. So what Billy Willies are hiding in those ones?
At this point, I had no clue how deep the rabbit hole was going down, but I was too far down to climb back out, so I kept on digging. And this is what I discovered. A lot of these remaining unaccounted videos are in fact duplicate uploads. No, not the same uploads added to the same playlist more than once accidentally. I mean that they're exactly the same videos uploaded twice to the same channel with unique URLs.
Now, to be a little bit fair, a lot of these duplicate uploads are actually different video qualities, which is probably why they were re-uploaded in the first place. But usually the second uploads only manage to improve from 240p to 360p. So that's basically the same jump as filming with a potato to filming with a peeled potato.
And as I was shifting through this muck, I decided to count exactly how many duplicates were uploaded to the Navigator channel and write them all down as I was going. As you can see, there was one for Mega Man Legends, one for Quest 64, one for Cool Borders 3, not too many all things considered.
And then I found more.
No, these are not the ransom demands of a kidnapper. This is how many exact copy duplicate videos I was able to count and write down as I was searching through the 1,322 uploads of the Navigator channel. Do you know how many there were in total? 268.
So yeah, I led you a little astray just then. Those remaining 268 videos I mentioned earlier, 268 videos unaccounted for. They're all duplicate uploads. I feel like I found the Zodiac Killer. How does this channel exist?
Even more insane is that a few of the reviews on the channel were duplicated not just once, but sometimes twice, like with Donkey Kong Country. You know, just in case you didn't agree with this review, you could always check out the same review again 2 more times. It gets even more confusing when you see some of the games have 4 of the same videos each, but 2 of each of those videos are the same reviews as the others, but longer. Mario 64's review is copied, but then so is Mario 64 Extended. Bubsy 1's review is copied, but then so is Bubsy 1's other review, which, no joke, is exactly the same video but with 1 added sentence worth of video length. There's other videos talking about completely different things to do with the same game that have very similar names but with added brackets that have no duplicates. There's a Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel review that's really short, and a much longer one that isn't titled as Extended but has the publisher's name in brackets so that you know the difference. They did a countdown video of the best racing games of 1999, forgot to talk about the sports game, so just re-uploaded the racing list countdown with a sports countdown stapled on the end. There are multiple playlists on the channel that miss out loads of reviews of the official show the playlist is for and include videos that have nothing to do with anything. Some of the reviews are 14 minutes, where others are as long as 30 seconds. There's a review here for the Marvin missions, but then there's a duplicate upload named Daffy Duck the Marvin missions, and every single review, no matter if it's an original or a duplicate, begins with that same bloody Mix this all together and you're left with a channel that's about as clean as measles.
So to be more accurate, in order for me to check which reviews on the channel were indeed duplicates, I ended up watching not just 287, but in total 555 videos. I know, I should have stopped at number 402, but I needed to be sure.
Even better, if you check the first ever uploads made to the channel, you'll see that the Super Mario 64 review is actually number 386. So all of those 287 reviews I watched for this video, that isn't even all of them. No one knows what happened to them. George Wood is the Bigfoot of the video game industry.
Let me make this perfectly clear though. Any jokes I make today at George's expense are not meant in malice whatsoever. I genuinely love this show precisely for how bad it is. This is not a hate campaign, and I don't want anybody to harass anyone over this video. Besides, not every single one of these reviews has something worth talking about in them anyway, either because of their length, because nothing funny happens in them, or because they're just not that very interesting. But plenty of these are gold.
Watch this cool effect.
Shall we watch a few then?
We were kind of hoping to see mannequin piss in the background.
Okay, I'm already regretting it.
Anyway, no amount of urine can make this game viable.
So let's start off light. In this review of Chrono Trigger, George decides to not review the game at all, and instead just tell you how to finish like 5 of the quests, and then spends the next 6 minutes showing you random parts of the game.
You can get some food and then listen to Marl call you a pig. The next event, however, is not funny.
He even does the same with Final Fantasy VI's review, which barely reviews the game at all and just walks you through the main plot points.
Soldiers knock on the door, demanding to enter.
Or with Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage, where there's no review at all, but they still decided to name it after the reviews and not call it B-roll. I mean, these reviews may be useless, but at least it's better than— In this review of A Bug's Life, our good friend George complains a lot about the seed growing system being bad, while constantly failing this jump, resetting the seed that he needs to make the jump, and then not throwing the seed closer to the gap that he can't make it across.
Hello? Hello? Ants can crawl anywhere. They don't need mushroom trampolines.
Yes, you're right. And you know what? Bandicoots don't wear trousers.
You know what I hate most about a video game? When the control is too responsive.
The control is overreactive.
Yeah, when I press a button, I want the game to do something 2 seconds later.
Wow!
Check out this here. If you click on the Bloody Roar 2 review, what do you think you get? You get a review of Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, of course, and then 5 seconds, I repeat, 5 seconds of a Bloody Roar 2 review.
Many of the same problems plague Bloody Roar 2, so we'll just move on to Mortal Kombat 4.
I'm sad that I lack the imagination to make this up. It's better than this review of Devil Dice though, because there isn't a review at all, just the intro how to play cinematic, with a scoreboard just splatted on the screen. Come on, you can't do that! What do you think of the game, George? Let me into that broad and manly head of yours! Or at least let me sit on it. Your hair looks like a sofa. Ooh, what's this? A Final Fight 3 review? Except no, because all he does is say,
The game is not that hot, and neither is the ending. But we thought you might want to see it anyway.
The game isn't good, and neither is the ending. Now here's the ending. Whee!
Brave Fencer Musashi.
Excuse me, George, what was that?
Brave Fencer Musashi.
I'm sorry, George, could you say that again? I missed it.
Brave Fencer Musashi.
Oh, of course, that's my favourite game. I love Brave Fencer Musashi.
In one of his more famous videos talking about Castlevania Symphony of the Night, there's more to pick apart here than pulled pork.
With no in-game cinemas or anything.
You know, except for the plentiful voice acting?
What is a man?
Character building RPG elements is unique and impressive, but almost unnoticeable in terms of the effect on gameplay.
Okay, first of all, how could you possibly say it's impressive when you think it does nothing? And secondly, did we play the same game?
We got far into the game, but still felt far from the end.
Ah, well, you didn't even finish it. That explains a lot.
We also have a minor complaint about one aspect of the game's control. If you're standing still and you swing your whip, you can't jump until the whip has come all the way back to you. Now that's ridiculous, folks.
That's how Castlevania works, Georgie Porgy! In fact, if you think the RPG elements don't do anything, why don't you equip a faster weapon to fix this problem?
That is one annoying flaw. So much for realism.
Ah, yes! Realism! In Dracula's castle, with fire-breathing 3-headed dogs and old giant rotting men made out of flies. Shame on you, Castlevania, you aren't realistic enough. Alucard doesn't even work in an office!
The camera will catch Princess Jean in the shower. As a result, the feisty gal will punch out the lens of the camera. Isn't that a hoot?
Why do I get the impression that this was based on a true story in George's past?
Isn't that a hoot?
Can I also bring attention to the fact that there are 2 Earthbound reviews that aren't technically duplicates, but one of them they did completely wrong, so just kept that one up and then uploaded a correct one? Seriously, on the first upload, the audio just cuts out completely after George says, Burger Shop!
Arcade. Burger Shop.
And they left this upload as it was. Navigator, I love you.
No one buys a game specifically for multiplayer options.
Well,
Gran Turismo wouldn't be the flop that it is.
well...
We're all for good stories, but there are some established entities which defy that need. It's like turning Mario into a sports game.
Well...
The game would be better if we were treated with plot development.
Have you ever played a Mario game before? Now, if you've been watching this video so far, I'm sure that you've all noticed the garbage picture quality of these videos, but to be fair, this is something that cannot be helped. You know, it's like paying your taxes. Unless you avoid them.
Not only was this content some of the earliest of its kind, but this was back in the 90s, so you can't really help that everything looks like burned pastry.
The surprising challenge, even on Child's Play, makes this game too hard for the tots, but perfect for the pros.
But I do think they could have done a lot better with the sound mixing.
So he embarks on a mission to collect as many yarn balls as possible.
If there's one thing I love about watching my favourite game reviews, it's when the reviewer is trying to talk to me, but the music in the game is screaming at me at the same time. I don't know about you guys, but it makes me want to take one of these little things right here and push it right in further than the recommended amount.
Blasto. Yet another wisecracking hero, like Bubsy, Gex, Toomba.
Ah yes, because Tomba is well known for his constant wisecracks, with all of that dialogue he doesn't have.
Buster Brothers collection for the PlayStation. This blast from the past is, well, not worth busting your butt to get. Get it?
No, I don't get it. Please explain.
Buster Brothers. Bust your butt?
Oh, thank you for that. I was really lost.
even though it's right in front of you. Tisk, tisk, tisk.
Tisk, tisk, tisk.
His rants will come in handy on many occasions. Adults will like this brain teaser.
And what? Adults will like this brain teaser and what?
The Legend of Zelda. Not as good as the original for some unknown reason.
You can't just say that! Why is it worse? Tell me, Georgi!
Cool, dude. Not.
By the way, can somebody explain the difficulty rating section of the reviews to me? Because I don't get it.
Take the Bugs Life review. 1 second he says,
The gameplay is very simple. You might beat the game in one sitting.
then in the next breath he says,
The frustrating control has you fumbling around.
but then the difficulty is rated E. Does this mean an E rank is too easy? Does it mean it's too hard? Does it mean it's unfair? Does it mean it's too imbalanced? Help me, Georg.
You are stupid.
Okay, Georg, you didn't have to be mean. I didn't feel like to say that. I really hurt my feelings.
And how about here in the Armored Core review?
All you do is kill enemy robots. That task is usually way too easy, despite the very poor play controls.
So it's way too easy, and yet you give the difficulty a C? What scale are we working at?
We did not review this title as a game. It's not a game. It's an interactive music experience.
Well, if that's the case, then why did you bother rating any of this? There is no gameplay, so how can the difficulty be rated a B?
But with the guide, we were able to beat the game in 1 4-hour sitting without saving.
So wait, you give the challenge an A ranking, which I guess means the challenge is high, but how can you say that when you outright admit that you just followed a guide and finished the game in 4 hours?
Georgie, Porgy, Pudding and Pie kissed the girls and made them
Cheater video games.
We changed our challenge rating of the game to a C, mainly because we beat it unexpectedly.
That sentence right there sums up everything perfect about this show. They so rarely ever beat the games that they review that it surprises them when they do.
We want to show you the entire game, but unfortunately, we just don't have the time.
He couldn't even beat Search for Reptar. The game takes 45 minutes.
Yeah, this is it, lads. I'm gone. I'm out of here. I don't want this anymore. It's sending me. I've been sent.
We're not quite sure if we'll ever beat this one.
I mean, look, if you're stuck on the easiest level of Disney's Tarzan,
We could not pass the Stampede level without cheating and using the Game Shark.
then you probably shouldn't be left to review Contra 3. That's all I'm saying.
And you should not have to jump onto a vine to get it moving. Anyone who's ever climbed a rope knows you can wiggle your body and get it moving very quickly.
What are you talking about? You can do that. Did you try pressing the move buttons while you were there? No, the buttons that make you move.
First of all, lower the difficulty level to 1 star and change the number of rounds to 1.
Imagine if nowadays you had to read a review from a journalist that couldn't beat a tutorial level. Damn! This is exactly what watching gaming in the Clinton years is like. It's like you're watching a carpenter hammer his thumb repeatedly while complaining about the fact that he didn't buy any nails.
I mean, just look at this Johnny. He's right next to the base easiest enemies in Doom 1, and yet doesn't fire back until a good 3 seconds later. And then when playing ODT on PS1, he decides, you know what? I'm just gonna run right off the edge of the cliff and blame the game for it.
Falling off cliffs is rather easy when the camera doesn't show them to you in time.
Did George play all of his games blindfolded?
It is unknown whether the actual gameplay is more like Tomb Raider or Doom.
Okay, maybe he didn't. Maybe he's just blind.
Ever since Tekken, swords and axes have become a staple in fighting games.
Oh yeah, because Tekken 1 is so well known for their characters with weapons. All 2 of them.
Like I mentioned earlier, George is also quite infamous for going completely off the rails about anything.
Just get over it. This is the age of South Park. We don't like South Park, but we do like Resident Evil 2.
Like in this review of All-Star Baseball 99, where he gets quite irate about the names of one of the stadiums.
Why does every game, with the exception of Ken Griffey Baseball for the N64, list the Baltimore Orioles Stadium as Baltimore Stadium? They have the correct name, so what's the deal? Are the Orioles so pig-headed about the use of Oriole Park at Camden Yards that they only let Nintendo use the name? That really stinks.
I mean, I don't know what he's talking about. Maybe it's very serious and political, but come on, dude, I'm not gonna boycott a video game because the name of a baseball stadium isn't correct.
The Orioles have the sun on the top of the scoreboard. Instead, this game has an imitation, El Sol. Another title, Griffey Baseball, has the sun.
Okay, well, now I'm boycotting it.
We had a lot of fun creating 3 fat black ladies fighting 1 skinny white turd. You can head towards the waterfall and listen as it gets louder and louder.
Okay, well that's pretty technical, isn't it? I don't think I've ever seen a game do faded audio before.
In Super Mario 64, you can do just about anything. It is, in fact, like jumping into the movie Toy Story.
Okay.
Oh god, I mentioned it, didn't I? The Toy Story review. This is one of the more popular ones on the channel, and for good reason. It's completely psychotic.
When you pop in this game, the first thing you notice is the poor edging on Woody.
Oh yeah? That's the first thing you notice? You will not get a 7-minute review for Toy Story as a game. Instead, you get an incoherent and disconnected rant all about silicon graphics computers, and it's just as enthralling as it sounds.
The Toy Story movie was done with silicon graphics computers. We don't know, however, if the game actually used silicon graphics computers. Why didn't Disney Interactive use silicon graphics computers? Disney Interactive did not use SGI computers. Donkey Kong Country was created with silicon graphics computers.
Then we once again roll around to the fact that the game is too hard and that you have to cheat, and apparently
this cheating brings victory much too quickly to warrant spending your money. People don't spend $60 on a game they know they can beat.
So if that's the case, then why do you complain when a game is too hard? By your logic, doesn't that mean the game was worth the money? George, you've got to cut out the aspirin. Your brain is getting confused, and you're starting to look like Chandler Bing.
Speaking of action figures, take a look at this one. It's a takeoff of Blanca from Street Fighter 2. Also notice the similarities to other Street Fighter characters on the package design. Aha! We caught these guys ripping off Capcom. Anyway, let's get back to Toy Story.
I think George was grown in a tube.
The real star is the level design. Laura would have nothing to do but inflate herself.
Speaking of inflation, in his Pandemonium 2 review, he even goes completely off on one about Nikki's chest size, and it's glorious.
She's much more, well, endowed. I wonder if there's a limit to the size of those things. I guess there's no limit to the imagination. The knobs in question are noticeably bigger. The game itself depicts your character too small to see anything major.
What are you on? And could you give me some, please? Because I want whatever makes you give Cool Spot nearly a 10 out of 10.
Play it loud and stereo, dude.
Oh boy, what do you think he'll say about the Virtual Boy? I bet he tears this thing a new one. Go on then.
Red Alarm is the best Virtual Boy game there is. Red Alarm is a 3D flight game that mesmerizes all who play it.
Oh, come on, man. Look at this. You can like it if you want, but this is objectively terrible. It's a load of transparent lines.
The depth of the 3D graphics is outstanding. You will perceive real distances.
How could you possibly perceive any kind of depth with no textures? How are you seeing depth? Are you a being of corporeal form? What does George think of Formula 1 on PS1? Well, he thinks that it shouldn't have been a simulation game, and then asks this question that's on everybody's mind.
Why not have a game where you have to find and drive to the hospital before your wife delivers her baby?
Did you see that coming?
Will you get sick of running into walls just because these kids can't walk right? Maybe, maybe not. You might get a kick out of it.
Oh, so that's why he wants a game about driving his pregnant wife to the hospital, because as soon as the baby's born, he can beat it.
Why people actually spend $80 to beat a bunch of sprites into the ground when they can do it for free on a real live human being?
Okay, red alert. Watch out, everybody. George is inciting domestic violence. George has lost it. Everyone's not safe anymore.
Sometimes he doesn't even need to go off the rails during the review. He can start the review totally off his nut. Like with the Final Fantasy VIII review, when he starts the entire thing off by saying,
I hope one of the lovers dies.
Or in the Star Fox video where he starts off saying,
Andros will be by far the most awesome villain you'll ever encounter in any video game. He will remind you of Stephen King's The Lawnmower Man.
Or in the Ocarina of Time video that may be lumped in with the rest of the reviews and titled exactly the same way, but begins like this.
Our review of Zelda won't air until mid-January.
In many, many, many occasions, George even begins videos as reviews for about 20 seconds or so, and then just gives up and gives you a walkthrough, or a cheat code to skip to the ending. Tiny Toons, Pinocchio, Mega Man X, Jurassic Park, Mickey Mania, King of Monsters 2, Joe and Mac, Secret of Mana, The Mask, Super Star Wars, Bugs Bunny, Rabbit Rampage, all of these and more are structured exactly like this.
And out of the entire catalogue of videos on offer, I could only find one in this particular style I'm about to look at. A versus video. Now, if I told you I was going to pit Super Mario 64 against any other video game of that time period, what in the world do you think it would be? Take a guess. Did you say Resident Evil? Because that's what they did.
It seems as though the battle between the Nintendo 64 and PlayStation will be directly related to players' choices between Super Mario 64 and Resident Evil.
Oh yes, because these games are just so similar that all of the people out there will only pick one or the other for their platforming fix.
But which is better? Well, let's go through this point by point.
Oh god, I can't wait to see what you pull out of your hole here.
Mario has camera motion during gameplay, but Evil only has it during the hands-off cinema scenes.
You can never move the camera in Resident Evil.
Evil has real voices for its characters, but Mario and his friends are mute.
What the hell are you talking about? Mario never shuts up in that game.
Hello! Game over. Ravioli.
Did you play Mario 64, or did you watch the beginning of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
Mario doesn't require you to solve impossible puzzles to win the game, but Evil has you solve tons of them. Actually, you won't solve tons of them. The game is virtually impossible without the hint book.
Can you do basic math? Can you add 2 and 3 together? Because if you can do that, you've solved the puzzles in Resident Evil.
So what's the bottom line?
Oh, is that it? Is that all we're comparing? We're at the bottom line already? Okay, cool. See you next week, George! And by the way, apparently the platforming game Mario 64 is better than the survival horror game Resident Evil, in case you were wondering. But we are really sick of Nintendo 64 games having no dialogue.
And real voices make Mario 64 more than worthy of your time.
Nothing at all. It's disgraceful.
And the contradictions, my Christ, the contradictions. Half the time, I don't even know if I should buy the game or not.
At least it's harder than the piece of cake Mario 64. That little chore is extremely difficult. Stars are hidden everywhere.
And I'm not just talking about contradictions between the writing and the gameplay, like in Newman Haas Racing, where George complains that the game is way too easy because all the tracks are way too straight.
90% of the tracks are straight, resulting in a very low challenge level.
Only to then drive dead straight into a bend and give up on the game. I'm talking about the contradictions in his own sentences that he writes during the same reviews.
Everything about this game is top-notch. The game is virtually impossible to beat, making it overwhelmingly frustrating for younger players.
Okay, so is Einhander any good?
This title could very well be the best shooter ever made.
That sounds good if it's the best shooter ever made. Maybe I'll give it a try.
While not as fun as Star Fox 64.
Oh, never mind.
The most exciting part of the Indiana Jones game is the cinema scenes. They're amazing.
What? Still images?
Boring interstate scenes.
Oh, okay, don't worry. Apparently still images are now terrible.
While the dual stick control is ideal for situations like the rowboat, it seems unnecessary for actions like swinging a net to capture wayward monkeys. Swimming controls are way too fancy and cumbersome for their own good.
Oh, thank God you told me that. I was about to spend 50 quid on the game this weekend.
The control isn't bad, perhaps not even awkward.
But no matter how many contradictions you come across, nothing will prepare you for the Millennium Falcon.
The Millennium Falcon.
Or when gaming in the Clinton years believes in an opinion so strongly that they stick to it despite all of the backlash, and then have to make another video addressing the angry fans. Such as what they did with Final Fantasy VII. The original review they did of the game is, to be honest, quite tame, especially considering how beloved that game was when it first came out. They basically say that the game from a design standpoint is exactly the same as the previous ones, that the story isn't massively engaging, and that the sound and music aren't very good. All fine opinions to have, even if you disagree with them, but the funniest things about these two videos together is that the original review was presented by a totally different person.
Square certainly had to make some sacrifices to make Final Fantasy VII a reality.
And then George rides in on his shiny white steed ready to defend those opinions in the second video, which says to me that he wrote the original review, knew that it would get hate, and so hid behind another presenter for the video review, and then got in a big fight with that other presenter after he took the backlash, forcing George to come on with an apology video. To be fair to the guy though, he stands by all the original points they made and even expands on them a little more, so fair play to them for not backing down. And to see him say this with a totally straight face makes it worth watching all on its own.
Final Fantasy VII is far from the near masterpiece that game critics and fans have been calling it.
Yeah, suck it, nerds!
Whoopty freaking la-di-da!
One of my personal favorite comments he ever makes though is in the Star Fox review, where he says,
"The play control is so good that you'll actually notice how good it is."
The control is so good that you'll notice it.
Password will allow you to start the game with everyone saved except Morticia.
Okay, seriously, what is the point in giving anybody a review if all you're gonna do is ignore the entire game except the very ending?
With the code STCJDH, Bubsy can skip into stage 16 and encounter the Queen Woolies.
You can't call yourself a gardener if you jump over your neighbor's fence, steal their flowers, and then plant them in your own garden.
Even though Bubsy is easy, the game is still excellent.
Well, first of all, you like Bubsy. And second of all, of course the game is easy, because you tried the first level, died over and over again, and then skipped to the final one. Is this person real?
The Addams Family has got a cool ending. If you use the password, you'll get there in no time flat.
Dude, you've essentially spent $60 to look at a load of rinky-dink 16-bit fireworks that look like spit. Why are you so proud of yourself?
Maui Mallard is fun and easy, and with passwords for each of the 8 levels, the game goes quickly.
Well, of course it goes by quickly, because you skipped all of it.
A classic for the Super NES, but easy to beat with a code.
Oh, is it really? Is it easy to beat the game? With a code? You don't say?
We're not sure, but we suspect there are 14 worlds with 3 levels each.
Well, there you go. You see, if you keep skipping the entire game, you're stuck with just guessing how many levels the game has. You can't do that!
That will send you straight to Dracula without playing any of the levels.
Jesus Christ, I think I'm going mad.
This same code will give you 5 lives.
Oh, great. I've always wanted to know how to get 5 lives.
Cute. But again, cheating spoils all the fun.
So don't cheat then, you muppet!
2 secrets in the first level can destroy the otherwise outstanding difficulty level.
You don't need to use the cheats! Is someone forcing you? Are you addicted? Do I need to call a helpline?
The only way to win is to cheat.
And when it comes to this marathon video of quick Super Nintendo game reviews that he does, my god, the cheating comments are so plentiful, it's borderline a parody video. I actually don't know if this was a joke or not.
You can cheat to see all the endings, a breeze to beat, but only if you cheat. You can win fairly easily by cheating. Beating the game is a piece of cake with the hints. Expect to win only with major cheating. Really hard to beat without the codes. Hard to beat even with codes. You've got to cheat to win.
And on occasion, if he doesn't decide to skip the entire game he's reviewing, he'll just use demo footage from the boot up screen because he can't play Spot Goes Hollywood or give such useful hints like,
to succeed in this battle, you must avoid the boss effectively and hit him many times.
gee, thanks! I didn't realize I was supposed to hit the boss and not get hit by the boss.
Bad players will think to play Control is poor, while good players will think to play Control is good.
Gee, thanks! I didn't realize I had to learn the controls before I got good at the controls.
The key to success is to reload anytime you're not shooting.
Gee, thanks! I didn't realize you had to reload your gun to get more bullets.
Doom it!
Press triangle to capture the cubes, press triangle to capture the cubes, press triangle to capture the cubes, press triangle to capture...
Whoa!
The small team at Gaming in the Clinton years even tried their hand at adding their own voices to some video games cutscenes to show us just how funny they were.
5 seconds till self-destruct. 4, 3, 2,
Guys,
1.
I think we should take the time door.
Hey, that's a good idea. Let's go, quick.
Good idea. Let's go.
Now. Whoa!
And speaking of being funny, yeah, we've seen a lot of the jokes that these guys tried to execute throughout these near 300 reviews.
I'm starting to get the heebie-jeebies.
And where I do indeed understand that comedy is subjective,
You know how we love lame humor.
I personally found myself laughing at every single one of them.
The bugs are bugging him, which is ironic because the bugs are bugging a bug.
But not for the reasons they want.
A trapdoor opens up and I'm thrust into the depths of the basement of this old, disgusting, roach-infested building. Just kidding.
Whatever happens though, this is still public television we're working on, so we have to cut down on the profanities.
That snow speeder kicks a major you-know-what.
Okay, so before I go clinically insane, I think it's about time that we wrap up Gaming in the Clinton years. And boy, what a trip that was. I won't lie, shifting through the mud of over 1,300 videos to pick out 287, but then watching 555 in total to make sure that the copies were actually copies, yeah, that was brain melting, but I hope you got a laugh out of it, because I sure did. And again, do not harass anybody over this. This video is not a hate campaign, because let's be honest, the more hate you send towards people like this, the less that we'll see of it in the future. Cringeworthy or not, let people express themselves, because otherwise you won't have anything to cringe at, will you?
Namco Museum Volume 5 does include a kinky, kinda cool gallery.
Did George just let slip that he thinks the Pac-Man Museum is kinky? Well, I mean, to be fair, Miss Pac-Man.
As far as George Wood himself goes though, well, I don't know what he's up to. The dude has basically no internet footprint, and now he looks like Conan O'Brien on bath salts. There's a few relatively recent interview videos floating around, and the Navigator channel tried doing this weird alternate reality game thing related to him, but I don't have a clue what any of it's about, something to do with HD editions of full episodes of Gaming in the Clinton years, I'm not sure. But then again, just like George Wood's fantastic reviews, I don't want to be sure.
Demon's Crest, easy to beat. Or is it?
I want to be left in the dark. I want to be confused, because it's more fun that way. And it makes this show seem all the more like a lost episode creepypasta that aired on TV, scared everyone, and then disappeared forever. Did George Wood even exist? Is he real?
The lack of chasmic jumps. Chasmic may not be a real word, but it should be.
Your guess is as good as mine.
And before I go, I'm going to show to you now, in its entirety, the best review on this channel. Enjoy. And remember, everybody,
if you don't play this game, you're not a true gamer.
Subscribe and hit that bell.
Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I need validation.
Special thanks to my executive producers on my Patreon page in the description below. Matthew Hubble, TARDIS Type 40, Exopaz, Brandon Butler Williams, Ramen Wolf 1485, Red-Eyed Critic, A.D. Thornton Smith, Mitchell Reed, Fart Rules, Skullman, Basil, Daniel and Alex, Ex-Shadowhunter ZX, The Game Shed, Slowponk, Stephen LeBlanc and Calvin Koskela.
Stan, having no hair made me look hairier.